The Texas housing market is about to hit a brick wall as inventory just skyrocketed to at least an 8-year high. On top of that, the share of price reductions has been skyrocketing as well, growing to at least a 5-year high for mid-July. I'll have that news to share in today's video, but also I'm going to talk about the 4 biggest metros in Texas. Those are Austin, Texas, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. I have a lot to share in today's video. Thank you so much for joining me, and let's dive in. There's a few sources I want to cover in today's video. The first one is from the Texas Realtors Association, just posted, actually today, I didn't even notice that, posted on July 19th, which is on Friday. It says Texas Realtors second quarter housing report shows more housing availability. In other words, there's 41% more existing houses for sale in Texas during the second quarter this year compared to the second quarter last year. So meanwhile, the statewide median sold price was at $345,000, up by 0.6% from Q2 last year. The number of houses sold, though, went down by 3%. So inventory is up by 41%. So there's approximately 41% more houses to choose from if you're a home buyer, yet closed home sales decreased by 3%. A severe imbalance between supply rising by a lot and sales down by 3% from the previous quarter. According to Jeff Kahn, who's the chairman of the Texas Realtors, he said interest rates are a big part of this story. With today's higher rates, some buyers are sitting on the sidelines and hoping for rates and or home prices to come down. So this is one reason why we're seeing inventory increasing. We're seeing new supply rising, but also we're seeing a lack of closed home sales. So we have this environment in which supply is rising, but also seeing sales decreasing. So when we see a lack of houses being sold, that increases housing inventory. So when home buyers are sitting on the sidelines, that just contributes to the increase of housing supply in Texas here. Okay, let's talk about home prices according to the Texas Realtors for the second quarter this year. So the median sold price went up in 22 metros in Texas, but down in 4 of them. The biggest increases were Odessa, up by 11.7%, Albany, up by 11.2%, San Angelo, my Spanish pronunciation is probably wrong there, but that's up by 8.4%, and Midland, Texas, up by 6%. So there's 4 metros that are down compared to Q2 last year. Those are the greater Austin area, down by 3.2%, Lubbock down by 4.1%, San Antonio down by 1.3%, and Texarkana down by 2.5%. Now here's a kicker. They talk about the months of inventory. Kind of think of it this way. Based on the current sales pace, based on all houses that are for sale right now, they'd be sold in 3.1 months last year. Now at that month supply is at 4.6 months. That marks the highest months of inventory in at least 8 years. On top of that, this is virtually statewide because there's only one metro, which is Odessa, that had inventory actually decreasing. So all other metros statewide, the month supply rose from Q2 last year. Now, this is a very, very big deal because inventory just basically is piling up in Texas, at least an 8-year high right now, which all contributes to a decrease in home prices in the near term, unless something improves. But based on the data we have today, supply rising, a leading indication of closed home sales and also closed home prices, that is a recipe for a downward market, to say the least. The Texas Realtors also provided this as well, which I'll go over the statewide numbers and then I'll go over the bigger metros in Texas. So for the state as a whole, the median sold price was at $345,000, up barely, up by 0.6% compared to the same quarter of 2023. Meanwhile, active listings surged by 41%, but closed home sales decreased by 3%. So supply basically skyrocketing and sales decreasing by 3% from Q2 of 2023. Here's something very important you guys should be aware of, though, is that every single one of the larger metros in Texas has an increase, a big increase in supply, yet a decrease in closed home sales. A imbalance between supply and demand, supply rising, demand decreasing. Also, check this out. Like I mentioned, the month supply, they're calling it the months of inventory, basically the same thing, is at 4.6 months. Again, at least an 8-year high. On top of that, up by 48% from Q2 last year. Let's talk about the greater Austin area. The median sold price, $455,000. That actually is the most expensive metro area in Texas. That's down by 3.2%. Also, active listings increased by 30%, yet closed home sales fell by 2.7%. Meanwhile, the months of inventory was at 4.8 months. Back in Q2 last year, it was 3.7 months. That's an increase of 30%, by the way. Also, that 4.8 month supply is a little bit higher compared to the statewide average at 4.6 months. Let's also have a look at Corpus Christi metro area as well. Their home prices there, $285,000, down 1.7%. Active listings surged by 44%, yet sales fell by 5%. It's absolutely wild. I mean, if we had a giant increase of supply up by 40% in 2020, 21, in the first half of 2022, sales would have been absolutely skyrocketing. Now we're seeing just the opposite. Active listings surging, yet sales tanking. Something quite extraordinary as well is that in Corpus Christi, Texas, the month supply, 7.1 months compared to the 4.3 months in 2023 during the second quarter. That is a giant increase of 65%. Also much higher compared to the other areas in Texas as well. A month supply at 7.1 months is the highest levels for any of the larger metros in the state. Moving on, let's talk about the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area. They're at 406,000, a small increase up by 0.3%. I would not be surprised during the third quarter this year that that's going to be in negative territory because of this right here. Active listings surging by 45%, yet sales decreased by 1.7 months or 1.7%. The month supply, 3.8 months. Back in the previous quarter of Q2 of 2023, it was at 2.5 months. The Houston area, they're at just about 344,000, up 2%, but that will likely change next quarter as well, I imagine, because active listings surging by 43%, sales down by 3%. The months of inventory at 4.2 months compared to 2.9 months in Q2 last year. One metro area that I do want to share with you guys that is a smaller one. The reason why I do want to share this is that their median sale price is flat, but that will change though, because look at this, active listings surging by 57%, yet closed home sales fell by 13%. So even though there's 57% more options to choose from if you're a home buyer, sales tanked by more than 10%. So in that market, they have a severe imbalance between supply and demand. Speaking of that, the months of inventory basically doubled from Q2 of last year. They're sitting at a 4.9 month supply right now. Before I share some other additional data, the last metro area I want to share from the Texas realtors is the San Antonio greater area. They're down 1.3% regarding their median sold price at $311,000. Active listings up by 43, sales down by nearly 6%. The months of inventory at 5.2 months. That's a big increase from the 3.5 months that was set back in Q2 last year. All right, changing gears slightly here to talk about another report from ResiClubAnalytics.com. Absolutely a fantastic website if you guys want to learn about housing market trends on a national level, statewide level, and also the metro level as well. He has a fantastic website regarding inventory, home prices, and much, much more. This is, by the way, I think from a Premier membership. So they have a lot of articles that are free, some you have to pay for. I got permission from Lance Lambert, who is the founder of Resi Club, to share this with you guys. So look at this. This is the number of houses for sale for the 50 biggest cities. This is June this year compared to June of 2019. So comparing numbers this June compared to pre-COVID levels, and they're using basically data from Realtor.com. So the number one spot here for the biggest increase of inventory of existing houses from June of 2019, the greater Austin area up by a whopping 41%. 4-year change up by 93%. 3 years up by a whopping 360%. 2 years up by 95, 1 year up by 32. I mean, absolutely astounding to see the giant increase of inventory over the past several years. That's the number one spot regarding the 50 biggest metros. After that was Memphis, and then we have San Antonio up by 24% from June of 2019. Then we have tucked behind here was Dallas. Yeah, Dallas-Fort Worth is down by 7%. And also Houston is also down by 15%. What's absolutely astounding about these figures right here is that the national average from June this year compared to June of 2019, inventory is down by 31%. Whereas in Austin, it's up by 41%. Absolutely astounding to see the surge of inventory. There's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 metros of the 50 biggest ones that have more houses for sale compared to pre-COVID levels right now. In addition, the national area, San Francisco, Dallas, Phoenix, all closely falling behind, not too far off the levels we saw in 2019. Another way to look at this is this right here. Active listings over the past several years, going back to what is this? January of 2017. I absolutely love this because when you look at Redfin's data center, it only goes back to 2020 or 2021. So we can't look at pre-COVID levels. So this is absolutely astounding here. In Austin, Texas, the greater Austin area, 10,913 existing houses for sale this June. The highest number of houses for sale for any single month going back to at least, keywords there, at least January of 2017. That is number one. But also what's astounding as well is that inventory tends to peak in Austin, Texas, at least historically speaking, going back to 2017, around July or August. And here we are in June, and we already have the highest number of houses for sale for any month since at least January 2017. Now looking at Dallas, let's have a look at this. Much different story here, right? They have fewer houses for sale right now compared to June of 2019, but higher than any other June since at least June of 2017. And by the way, if you guys are curious why home prices increased so much back in 2020, it's this right here. Inventory absolutely plummeting because so many people were buying houses then. It went from about 17,000 houses for sale in June of 2020. Then it plummeted in February of 2021 to 6,214. Then we reached, basically record low levels back in February of 2022. Only 4,136 houses for sale. Now there's basically almost 6 times that at over 22,000 this June. Let's also take a look at Houston, Texas as well. Some very big changes there as well. 26,000 houses for sale approximately. This is the highest levels for June since June of 2019, but lower than any other June since then, June 17, 18, and 19, but higher than looking at post-pandemic levels. In San Antonio, a very similar scenario compared to Austin. Inventory absolutely skyrocketing, higher than any other month since at least January of 2017. A big increase over the past several years as well. And this is mind-blowing. 11,371 compared to June of 2017, under 8,000. So inventory absolutely skyrocketing in San Antonio, Texas. Let's also take a look at the share of price drops. So I want to compare how the figures in these metro areas, again, Austin, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio, compared to the national average. So on a national level, this is from altosresearch.com. On a national level, the share of price drops is at 38%. So basically 1/3 of all houses for sale have reduced their asking price. That's a share of price drops at basically 38%. For the state as a whole, in Texas, the share of price drops is at 42%. Now look at Austin. Austin, much higher compared to the statewide average at 42, much higher compared to the national average at 38. Austin, Texas, the share of price drops at 58%. Absolutely wild to see this. This is at least a 5-year high for the same time frame, which is in mid-July, the week ended July 12th. Last year's time, the share price drops was at 54%. Back in 22, it was at 48%. Looking at pre-COVID levels back in basically the end of July 2019, it was at 44%. Now we're much higher than that. Now it's at 58%. This is a fantastic measure to kind of gauge which direction this area is headed, because looking at price drops, pending home sales, active listings is all an early indicator, as well as pending home sales regarding future close home sales in Austin. But right now we're seeing inventory absolutely piling up, and also the share price drops at least a 5-year high for mid-July. Let's have a look at Dallas, Texas. So Dallas, the share price drops way lower than Austin. It's at 49%, roughly on par with the statewide average at 42%. But in Dallas at 49%, let's see how this compares to previous years. So 49% higher than last year, higher than 2022, much higher compared to 21 and 20, but actually a little bit more or less on par compared to the same time frame in 2019. Back then, the share price drops was at 51%. Now it's basically at 49%. In regards to Houston, Texas, they're at 44% right now. And looking over the past several years, this is at least a 1, 2, 3, at least a 4-year high, but lower than pre-pandemic levels when the share price drops was at 46%. Now it's at 44%. In San Antonio, they're at 51%, at least a 5-year high for mid-July, higher than last year, much higher than 2022. Let's look at 19. Back then, it was at 45%. Now it's at 51%. With that said, please leave me a comment below with your thoughts regarding today's video. My biggest takeaway is basically the surge of inventory. I mean, just seeing Austin, Texas up by 50 or 41% compared to the national average down by about 30%. And inventory absolutely skyrocketing over the past several years. On top of that, we're seeing, I mean, just as crazy, San Antonio, the highest number of houses for sale since at least January of 2017. Same goes for Austin, Texas. And again, a severe imbalance. Maybe it's not severe. I mean, we have a severe increase of active listings, but right now, close home sales decreasing by 3% during Q2 this year for the state as a whole. So definitely an imbalance between supply and demand because close home sales are decreasing, yet they have far more houses to choose from. Also at 4.6 months, the highest levels in at least, keywords there, at least 8 years in Texas. And what's astounding to me is that we're not just seeing one market that is experiencing this imbalance between supply and demand. There's only one market in Texas that has more or fewer active listings compared to Q2 of 2023. Anyways, some pretty mind-blowing stats, in my opinion, based on this report or these reports. But with that said, please leave me a comment below with your thoughts regarding today's video. Please like and subscribe. Of course, share this video with anyone you want, all my videos if you want, on your social media. I appreciate that very much. And of course, I appreciate you for watching today's video. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you in the next video.